Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first session of our summer webinar series. We are so excited to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about why promoting your brand to Generation Z is vital to your talent acquisition strategy. My name is Jennifer Kolb, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Tallo. And joining me is Curt Salisbury, the Manager of Retail Staffing with Publix Supermarkets. Publix is one of the 10 largest volume supermarket chains in the country and the largest employee-owned company in the United States, employing over 225,000 people. So today, we're going to have a conversation. We've got 20 minutes. We're not going to show slides or walk through fancy technology, but instead, we wanted to create a space where everyone has the chance to learn from an expert on early talent development. So I have questions to get us started, but please feel free. Add your thoughts and questions into the Q&A so we can make sure we get all of those answered and make this a valuable and impactful conversation to help with your own strategizing and planning. So I want to start today by welcoming Curt to the conversation. Curt is a graduate from Western Carolina University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. He began his Publix journey in 2016 as a meat cutter and moved over to Associate Relations as a staffing coordinator in 2018, serving the Charleston, South Carolina market. In 2019, he was promoted to staffing specialist, supporting the state of South Carolina and select stores in North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. And he was recently promoted to manager of retail staffing for all Publix Divisions in 2021. Curt, what an honor it is to have you here today with us. Thank you for joining us. We're so happy. So let's go ahead and
thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah,
thrilled to be here.
We're happy to have you. So let's just dive right in. Like I said, we only got 20 minutes. I know we've got a lot of ground we want to cover. So a little context with my first question. I want to start with what I think is an incredible example of how Publix invests in early talent and promoting within. So Curt, I know from some of our past conversations, you shared some pretty incredible statistics on the number of full-time employees. I think we were talking about pharmacists specifically, but it's other jobs too, who started with Publix as teenage employees, started in entry-level positions, and then grew with the company and now have full-time careers. So do you mind kicking us off with that and talking a little bit about how you guys transition that program?
Oh, sure. I have my little message floating across my screen telling me that I have an unstable internet connection. So forgive me if I bug out on you, but we'll do our best. But Publix, actually at Publix, you can start at age 14, which kind of gives us a leg up on a lot of people, and we're excited about that. Our CEO, for example, started at age 14, and now he's the CEO of Publix, which is pretty interesting factoid in itself. But right now we have a little over 30,000 current associates that are beyond the age of 18, but they started with us when they were 14 to 17. So over 30,000 of them, and those 30,000 are spread across right now about 104 different job categories within Publix. So a lot of times when you think of Publix, you think in terms of a grocery store, like me, a former meat cutter or bagger or cashier, and there's not 104 unique positions in a grocery store. That's because we have so much more than just what you see in a grocery store. You know, we have everything from real estate, accounting, finance, computers, all that kind of thing, human resources, thank goodness, all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different career fields within Publix supermarkets as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. I learned some really cool jobs. I think one was a banana specialist. Who knew? So pretty incredible careers there at Publix. So I think, Curt, you guys have talked a little bit about something called Team Teen, a group of experts that you have in place to reach out to that younger audience. How does that team, what forms that team, and what do you guys do?
Team Teen is very near and dear to my heart. I was lucky enough to be the leader of that team, or the chairperson, or whatever the right word is. We started the team back in 2019, And what we want to do is just kind of take an internal look at ourselves and say, all right, look across our branding, look across how we're reaching out in terms of social media, what we're doing in schools, things like that. What can we do as a company to attract that future Publix leader? And we'd like to get them because of what I just talked about, 30,000 of them currently working for us, past the age of 18. There's about right at 18,000 true minors working for us today. About 1/3 of our store managers, which we have about 1,300 stores, 1/3 of them started with us when they were a teen. So we know that the teenage audience and the teenage future employee is our target audience. So we were trying to figure out how we can best reach that group. So I got tapped on the shoulder to lead that team. So I had to reach out and say, who do I want to be on my team? So they look at me, I'm about 150 years old, right? So I'm kind of stuck in my own train of thought in terms of what I think is effective advertising or a right message that we want to send. So I reached out and I got some of the younger folks within the organization on the team. I got some people that were not even in the organization on the team to give us a different perspective. And we had a nice hodgepodge of all age groups. We were a very diverse team, and we just moved forward from there. And it has been a fun journey, which led us to Tallo. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, indeed. We're happy about that too. So we just got a great question, Carlos. I think it's super relatable to what you just said, Curt. So Carlos said, branding to generations is specific and unique based on the targeted generation. How do you stay relevant with that audience?
Yeah, that was going back to the beginning of Teen Team, one of our biggest questions. Matter of fact, I'm up here in Greenville, South Carolina right now. We're doing a youth development series all summer with the teenage audience through the urban leagues. We're doing one in Greenville. We're doing one in Columbia coming up, moving over to Winston-Salem. We'll soon be doing one in Miami, but we're actually in the class in front of the teenage audience, which is the number one way we think we stay relevant, is by getting in front of them and participating with them, doing some hands-on things like and all that kind of deal. But in this class, just last week, the first one, we kind of did an informal poll and said, all right, gang, show of hands now. How many people have heard of Indeed? Show me your hands. There's 30-something people in the room. Maybe one or two hands went up. Okay, well, here's a big one you've all heard of. Who uses Facebook? Because Publix has used Facebook for years. Who uses Facebook? About 3 hands went up. All right, who uses Instagram? And about half of the room went up. So, all right, who uses TikTok? And every hand in the room went up. So we learned something. Okay, well, fine. The younger set enjoys TikTok, for example. Now, you'll have to do some internal looking as far as we were concerned. TikTok is interesting, but at the same time, there's some other material out there that you don't necessarily want your brand to get associated with. So TikTok's not going to be a platform that we're going to be interested in, but the content itself and the videos that seem to capture their attention, things like that, we have spent a lot of time watching, and we've created those types of videos internally that we share in events like that I'm at right now. When we're in front of the crowd, we have content that's tailored exclusively for them. So TikTok's been a good teacher, just not going to be a user.
I can relate. I think I personally don't have TikTok, but I know if I'm posting those videos, I don't want my mom or my employer looking at them, right? So that's good.
Right.
Yeah. So a question, Curt, often I get asked, we want to have a early talent development program in place, but we have restrictions where we can't reach out to an audience that's under 18. Was that ever a roadblock you faced with Publix?
No, it wasn't, because like I said, we're fortunate that we started at the age of 14. So, right now we have 14 in this class, the 20 something, there's spread between 14 to 17. And at the conclusion of this training, every one of them could theoretically come to work for us if they wanted to in some capacity. But I guess my words of advice to that is we're often find ourselves in school situations or club situations, things like that, with a crowd that we know is not going to be interested necessarily in coming to work for us, but it's all about providing them something they can walk away with in terms of some kind of maybe soft skills training or mock interview trainings or some kind of ways that we can get in there, participate with the school. And Charleston, South Carolina, where I started, is very big market in terms of staffing. So I just made it my goal in Charleston is to have Publix be dinner table conversation. You know, I want everybody to be working, at least be talking about us. So if you're in a situation where you can't employ the 18-year-old or below 18-year-old crowd, you can still get in front of them, send your message to them, create that dinner table conversation. They'll be with you down the road. But now in those teenage years, when they're good and impressionable, it's a good time to make your impression on them.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that over 70% of Gen Z says they're more likely to go work for an employer who reached out even before a job opportunity wasn't presently available. So we are absolutely right, recruiting to a different audience that takes that personal connection and relationship. It's really impactful. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So what, as far as your outreach goes, Curt, you manage a really big team. And I know you today are boots on the ground, they're local in South Carolina talking with folks. How do you scale programs like what you're doing? How do you reach, if you have 30,000 employees that are high school students, you know, how did you scale that to get the right pipeline?
Well, in terms of the way that retail staffing, which is a group I work for, we have 5 divisions at Publix, and I have at least one staffing specialist in each division. So that would be Jacksonville, Lakeland, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So they're staffing specialists in all those divisions. And then the staffing specialists they're just tasked with going out into their communities in the markets that we serve and finding those community organizations that might have that age of crowd that we're looking for, or any other age of crowd for that matter. And then also working with the schools, partnering with the schools, with the urban leagues like I'm at right now, vocational rehabilitation, stuff like that. Just helping direct traffic in terms of where we'd like our message sent. And then we just build on it from there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We've got a question. John Small, a good friend of ours. Hey, John.
Hey, John.
So John said, I remember Publix having a great tuition reimbursement program. Is that ongoing? And how does that help with retention of younger employees?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, John. We do still have our tuition reimbursement going strong. It's a solid program, and I'll use it as a good example of that 104 job categories that I shared previously that some of those 30,000 are spread across. We've actually got 47 pharmacists, because of course Publix has pharmacists. We have 47 pharmacists that started with us when they were a minor, worked their way through high school, continued working with us in college, took advantage of that tuition reimbursement to help put them through pharmacy school, stayed with us, did their pharmacy internship, even still with us, and then flipped it over and turned into a full-time pharmacist with us. So they've been on that journey, including tuition reimbursement, since they were 14 years old. So tuition reimbursement is a biggie, and we just try to tie it in and always educating to them, hey, look, Publix is a great part-time gig if you want it while you're in school, and a little spending money even while you're in college, or let us partner with us. We'll invest in you while you're in school and help pay for that school, and look at us in terms of a longer term career. I think there's about 18 different majors that we would be willing to reimburse you for right now.
Wow, 18. That's incredible. So do you have to have, for the people going to get that tuition reimbursement, do you have to go to a certain school, or is it any school?
No, it can be any accredited university or college.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I had
Sure.
a little delay. Do you mind saying that again?
Yeah, it can be any accredited school, 2 or 4 year college.
That's incredible. Do they have to be enrolled for a certain, or employed for a certain amount of time to be eligible?
Yeah, it's a function of hours worked. So, it's achievable as a part-time employee. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I would say generally on a part-time basis, get there, position yourself 6 months to qualify for the tuition reimbursement, even at part-time.
Yeah, that's an incredible tactic. I'm sure that the younger generation, right, loves to hear that they can have someone pay for their school. Now, when it comes to tuition reimbursement, I know a lot of times we think 4-year university, right, like the pharmacist. But Curt, I know I've heard of some pretty neat apprenticeship programs too. I think there's one in cake decorating or floral design. Am I saying that correctly, or there are some apprenticeship programs in place too?
Yeah, we have apprenticeship programs in all our skilled positions, which you hit it. You got the cake decorating, bakery, meat cutting, where I was from. So if it's what we call a skilled position, then you can come in there as an apprentice, and that lasts. We try to get everybody in and out of those programs and actually classified in that skilled position within a year.
So neat. I never knew it existed. So
Yeah.
it's really neat. I see you got your video off. I think the audio sounds good. There we go. So when diving into a hard topic, right? Diversity and inclusion and making sure recruiting in your workforce is equitable. I know we've worked in this capacity, helping you guys with your internship, but Tallo aside, what are you guys doing to make sure that the hires you're bringing in, it's diverse and equitable?
Sure. The biggest thing is just imprinted in our mind, something that's very important. Publix is 90 years old, and we were founded by a person. We're a privately held company, and to this day we still try to uphold those values and standards that he built the company on. So in the past, we were always talking about our culture fit. Does this person actually fit Publix, the image, the culture, all that kind of thing? We've shifted from the culture fit to a culture add. So now when we're looking at potential associates, we're saying, what can they add to our culture? Instead of keyholing somebody and wanting them to adhere to what we think things ought to be, what can they bring to the table to add to us? So we're of the resolute belief that our differences is what makes us stronger. Our diversity is what makes us stronger. So we seek out every opportunity we get to get as diverse as we possibly can. And it's been paying off in a huge way. That's why we're out in the communities a lot like I am right now, to make sure that we're reaching across every aisle that we can to increase our overall diversity, because our diversity makes us stronger. Simple as that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Diverse thought leads to diverse action, diverse changes. So question, with Publix having a large number of high school employees, how do you track ROI on your investment and the programs you have in place?
Well, I track the ROI to 30,000 that are working with us right now. So we're happy with that. And, the 18,000, the 30,000 that are above 18, the 18,000 that are below 18 that are working for us right now, hopefully they'll roll on over too. But really, if you look at the numbers overall, when I tell you that we have 1,300 stores and 1/3 of those stores are being run by former teenagers, then that in itself is an ROI, because one single store is a multi-million-dollar business. So, and there's story after story after story that I could tell you about that person that started between 14 and 16 that is now in their early 30s, meaning they've been with us for 20 years already, and they're making well into the 6 figures. And a lot of them make me jealous because I came to Publix many years later. But just imagine for a minute being somewhere at age 35 and you've got 20 plus years of experience and you're already knocking down 6 figures. So those people and their experiences, they take on out to the community and share their own life experience. And that helps us recruit also. And a lot of those folks, their kids are already Publix before they're even born. They're coming there. They know they're coming to work for us. So that's, our ROI, to answer your question, is just in the proof of how many people stay with us, which is right now over 30,000 of them.
Yeah, I feel like Publix has a branding like a sports team, live and breathe and die by Clemson University over here. And now it's Publix too. I tell all my friends, all my family, you have to shop at Publix.
Well, we appreciate your business for sure.
Yeah, right. I think the first time Curt and I ever met, there was a Publix being built right across from my neighborhood. And so that was how we started every conversation of saw they poured the foundation, I saw the walls are going up. So it's pretty cool. We got a question come in, Curt, going back to the tuition reimbursement, are there any specific majors that you could throw out that students can participate in for that tuition reimbursement?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little crazy, because remember, you think of Publix, you think of the grocery store. I'm going to go in there and get my bag of Cheetos or my can of beans. But we're looking for obviously computer science, we're looking for accounting, we're looking for law, we're looking for property management, marketing, all those, industrial engineering, all those types of things. Because in addition to what you see in a retail environment, then you got to think the corporate office, because we're probably held. So anything that a company would need to operate is something that we need. So almost not every major you can imagine, but every major that you could think of that would be associated with a business is more than likely covered. We're actually looking at that right now to see about expanding the overall amount of majors that we would reimburse for, which is already at 18. So we're looking at it even broader.
Incredible. I think it really speaks to, I know you guys really stress promoting within, right? So before you have some special policies in place, right, Curt, before a job rec is even available, you post it internally. Is that right?
Always. First thing you do is we're about 230,000 total associates now. So always the first thing you do as a manager is you say, all right, I have this need. Is there anybody in this 230,000 that might want to consider the job? And we reach out to them first, because that's just the firm in our belief that we're going to hire from the inside first, which makes it more competitive for some other people on the outside trying to get in. We get that, but it's good for us because we just like watching people grow. And still, to touch on that tuition reimbursement deal, here's a good one. One of the things talking about, as long as we're talking about teens and my travels, a lot of them are interested in Hollywood and these videos that we're talking about, like Tic Tac and all that kind of thing. But media studies, multimedia studies, things like that. We actually have those types of positions in our company. We produce our own videos. We produce commercials and all that kind of deal. So if somebody wants to be a filmmaker, we would reimburse that in course of study and let them come make films for us. So
neat. Hey, and they're already living and breathing the culture over there, right? Carlos, I see a question you asked specifically about KPIs looking for. I think that was about to recruiting. If you don't mind, add into the Q&A. If we didn't get that answered, we'll circle back to it. Kim asked, and I'm thinking this is probably retention of high schooler to full-time hire, but Kim, answering, tell us if we don't get this one. Can you share, Curt, can you share your retention percentage?
I don't have that number right on me. That would be, well, I just couldn't do it without research. Not that it's some big proprietary secret. I just don't have that number readily available.
I love that you always have the right stats for us. Appreciate it. Another question came through. What recommendations, Curt, I know you've been, even before Publix, the early days you were in HR for a construction company. What recommendations do you have for companies who can't hire under 18, but want to build a pipeline sooner?
It's all about, I love that question. And that's kind of where my passion lies. It really doesn't matter if you can hire below 18 or not. It's more about positioning yourself for when they get to be 18. So just think dinner table conversation, think about outreach in the communities, think about what your company can do inside of schools and other organizations now to plant that seed about who you are and what your brand is all about. So when they turn 18, they've already got you in mind. And there's, I want to be with company XYZ. When as soon as the minute I turn 18, the same that we're trying to do, I want to be with Publix the minute I turn 14, but you can plant that seed now and just stay with them and engage them all the way through. We will find they're not asking me to do this. You wasn't even a question, but one of the things that we found, and we were delighted with Tallo is, Tallo in our minds basically like a LinkedIn for the teenage crowd, right? So we can communicate now with that audience that we're after, and so could any other company, even though you can't hire at 18, but you can still get in there and start creating a dialogue and making your company and your philosophy known to that younger audience, which is really important. Just start grooming them today for tomorrow.
There you go. I like that. Let's save that one-liner. Start grooming them today for tomorrow. So I lost track of time, Curt. This conversation has been so good. We said 20 minutes, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know you are actually in the classroom today, Curt, so want to make sure you can get back to your students. This has been a super informative session. I want to thank everybody for their time. If there are any other questions or anything we didn't dive into in detail enough, please email us. I think we've got a slide that can be shared right now with our contact information. We'd love to connect with anyone if they're interested in using Tallo, or if they have additional questions for Curt. If you don't mind, we might send some your way. Thank you again, Curt. It is such an honor. We are so appreciative. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. If you found this valuable, we have 2 other sessions this summer. On the 8th, we are meeting with Jerome Larkins, who oversees the Immersion Intern Program at Veterans United. And on the 22nd, we'll hear from Ashley Dye, who is the VP of Data Insights. So we'll talk about data and how that can fuel and help you make important decisions in that talent pipeline strategy. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Curt, thank you for your time. Hope everyone has a safe summer.